Carl Pei co-founded OnePlus, but believes the tech industry has become boring, so he started Nothing with a mission to revive excitement in personal electronics. Nothing began by entering the mature wireless earbud and smartphone markets, hoping to carve out a niche and become profitable. Pei then plans to reinvest profits to eventually invent an innovative new product category. However, the smartphone space now has towering incumbents after over a decade of market maturity and consolidation. As Nothing rolls out its Phone 2, featuring a customized software experience on top of Android, some wonder if there are enough untapped consumers left to buy in and sustain the company's ambitious vision. With market saturation and the world's largest tech giants continuing to iterate, is it simply too late for the Nothing phone to succeed? The modern smartphone industry has become an ultra-competitive, saturated arena dominated by just a few major players. In 2016, over 1.4 billion smartphones were sold globally in a booming market. However, worldwide smartphone shipments have declined steadily since then, as many consumers now already own devices. With market maturity, the industry has consolidated dramatically. Apple and Samsung together capture over 70% of total profits. For any newcomer, it is inherently difficult to stand out when the giants reign supreme, after over a decade of entrenching their brands and technologies. When Carl Pei founded Nothing in 2020, after leaving OnePlus, there was palpable excitement surrounding its potential to disrupt the status quo. As a young, nimble startup, Nothing represented the hungry drive for innovation that many felt had been lacking in personal tech. Pei wanted to create an ecosystem of smart devices that revived the sense of fun and excitement. The company's first product was the distinctively designed Ear1 wireless earbuds. However, the real test was always going to be Nothing's inaugural smartphone release in 2021. While the phone won praise from tech enthusiasts for its unique transparent design, glyph notification lights, optimized software, and fair price point, it did not make major commercial inroads. It was appreciated more as a novelty rather than a revolution. Now in 2023, as Nothing prepares to launch its Phone 2 model, promising camera and performance upgrades, plus an even more customized software experience, the surrounding hype has noticeably diminished. Reviewers have wondered whether the incremental improvements will compel satisfied iOS and Android users to switch in such a crowded field. And while the Phone 2 does offer glimpses of Nothing's vision in areas like UI design, the underlying hardware remains substantively similar to existing higher-end devices. With market saturation only increasing over time, rather than opening fresh opportunities, can Nothing still realistically thrive in smartphones for the long term and generate enough revenue to fund Pei's bigger dreams of eventually building new tech product categories? The clock may be ticking faster than anticipated on Nothing's runway here, especially relative to Pei's outsized ambitions. Still, as veterans Apple once showed the world, just a little creativity can go a long way when the foundations are strong. When Nothing launched its Phone 1 in 2021, it arrived with substantial fanfare and hype. As Carl Pei's first smartphone following his success co-founding OnePlus, expectations were high for it to disrupt the stale mobile space. The transparent design and glyph interface became instant conversation starters. Initial reviews amongst tech enthusiasts seemed glowing. However, as the sheen wore off, wider commercial success never fully materialized. The Phone 1 sold respectably, but was still a niche product. And now, as Nothing prepares to launch its much-anticipated Phone 2 sequel in early 2023, promising camera and performance enhancements along with an even more customized take on Android, that initial excitement and buzz feel tempered. While the phone upgrades seem incrementally better and continue, Nothing's unique visual identity, reviewers have started to wonder aloud whether these iterative improvements will genuinely compel satisfied iOS and Android owners to go out and switch devices in such a crowded, mature field. The window for differentiation also seems to be narrowing quickly rather than expanding, as phone usage reaches saturation globally and new customer acquisition costs rise each year. This all casts doubt on whether Nothing can leverage smartphones alone to drive the large mainstream brand awareness and multi-billion-dollar revenues that Pei eagerly envisions long-term to eventually fund expansions into new disruptive hardware categories like AR glasses or neural interface devices. Nothing has shown impressive early product vision and sales for such a young startup. But the runway in phones may be shorter than expected relative to Pei's outsized ambitions. Unless the secretive Phone 2 has some unseen surprises or future releases drive unprecedented word-of-mouth hype, Nothing still faces substantial doubt around its capacity to thrive through just smartphones over the next 5 years. For Pei's stretch goals, software customizations alone likely won't cut it forever to stand out. The clock already seems to be ticking given the uniquely challenging economics of the mobile gadget business. While Nothing and Carl Pei have shown impressive early product vision and sales traction for such a young startup, they likely still only hold a tiny foothold within an enormously challenging smartphone space dominated by towering incumbents. Apple and Samsung sit atop with vast resources and over 70% profit share. Both keep incrementally improving and marketing their devices each cycle, making customer retention and acquisition extremely difficult for smaller players. As smartphone penetration approaches saturation globally, Nothing faces the fundamental economics of a maturing industry with higher consumer marketing costs and retail consolidation year over year. Maintaining standout mindshare and sales momentum will only get harder with each passing season. Ultimately, the odds seem monumentally stacked against Nothing substantially breaking through over the next 5 years solely as a smartphone brand. While Pei's drive is admirable, smartphones likely offer too narrow a niche now. Unless Pei conjures up a revolutionary mobile computing device in the coming years to disrupt the broader market, Nothing risks flaming out as just another stylish but ephemeral tech also ran. For now, cautious optimism seems warranted about Nothing's prospects. The smartphone mountain simply remains too towering relative to Pei's ambitions. However, as Apple once proved from scratch, sometimes a little ingenuity paired with excellent execution can still go a very long way, despite the odds. Nothing is still in an enviable position as a fresh face, but to thrive long-term, it must channel more of its namesake originality sooner rather than later. Carl Pei emphasizes that he envisions Nothing evolving beyond just designing eye-catching gadgets. He has grander ambitions to explore truly reinventing core mobile software experiences for the next era through artificial intelligence. Pei dreams of building an intelligent agent that can automatically accomplish tasks upon user request so that consumers can rely less frequently on individual mobile apps. He wants to reduce the constant distractions and addictive behaviors that current smartphone interfaces induce. Pei is still experimenting here with the Nothing OS customizations in areas like widgets and notification management. Looking ahead, Pei sees a future where voice controls and augmented reality come paired with the slab form factor that permits a large, high-resolution screen. However, he believes more radical new mobile hardware form factors remain years away from mainstream viability compared to progress in AI. Rather than betting on foldable or exotic new shapes now, Pei is biding time for software breakthroughs, leveraging language processing and computer vision. The big opportunity as Pei sees it lies not in reinventing the physical smartphone itself just yet, but rather in the overall experience and metaphor upon which both software and hardware then built. Nothing still has tremendous work ahead to realize this vision, and must stay solvent long enough to have a shot. But Pei isn't giving up on eventually attaining mobile computing's next iPod moment, even amidst towering odds. The inspiration still lies tucked away somewhere in that decidedly unorthodox name.